can you say something about adaptation's fake news? The fidelity myth?
Oh,
Just a
yeah.
very, very catchy phrase.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
true.
the thing that's so interesting, I mean, it is adaptation studies, but it's also adaptation itself. Adaptation, there's something in adaptation that never dies. There's always something that's picked up and carried on and continued, and it just keeps going on and on and on. Yeah, I went back to biblical translation scholarship, where that was very much the basis for a lot of what was going on in Augustan translation scholarship. And I found even in theories of translating the Bible, the idea was that you shouldn't be faithful to the source text at the expense of being faithful to the new environment, because people wouldn't understand God's word and they wouldn't be touched by it. There were theories that Pope was way better than the classics because he'd made it relevant to his day and age of the 18th century, and he'd actually improved on Homer and all of these other classics. So I think the thing was that the fidelity was always being pressed more towards the new environment and away from the text. So it isn't that fidelity is not there. But I couldn't find evidence for it anywhere. And like, with great respect for Robert Stam, because I think he's an amazing scholar and he synthesized adaptation studies in a way that made it make sense to me for the first time. He's got this great synthetic ability. But when I looked for his sources, there aren't any footnotes for where this comes from. This is not to say no one has ever mandated fidelity. Lots of people have, and it tends to be textual literary scholars who don't like other media. But it seemed to be that this was in place of the history that I was trying to uncover in the book, that this was a mythology. And it meant that every new scholar, and I'm not the only person to have said this, it was Simone Murray and loads of other people have also said that actually it's infidelity that has been the obsession of adaptation studies. Whether you're a radical political scholar and you want your adaptation to be unfaithful, whether you are someone championing the new art of film and it needs to be unfaithful to literature to be born as film, whatever your theory, the infidelity has been. And yet we have this sort of story we tell. Everyone except for me has been promoting fidelity, slavish, derivative, conformist fidelity. And I am the scholar who's going to change this. And I found something published just a year ago that was still saying that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of accepted it. It's like, if you can't beat them, you don't quite join them. But I used to think, if I just make this point one more time, somebody will hear it. But I think part of it has been because we don't have a history. My history is very partial in both senses of the word. It's partial according to what I look at and what interests me, and also very, very a little piece of something that's just been going on for centuries across cultures. And this book isn't just about literature and film. It has other arts and media in it, although of course it's primarily lit film because that's the body of scholarship I was working with. But it's been going on for ages and ages. So this is just partial, but I can see why there hasn't been a history, because it's so many different fields and so many different countries and so many different historical periods. And, my field, literature, is divided up into centuries or sometimes genres, sometimes authors. And there are all these divisions that pretty much preclude looking across periods and genres and media. And Deborah knows this better than anybody. She was a cutting edge scholar in the mid 90s that just really pulled this cultural studies aspect of adaptation to the foreground, where it had been previously mostly formal studies. So we were thinking of it as translation.